you guys ready to go? Ready?
Whenever you are.
Okay, all right.
And you bring my paperwork with
Okay.
you. Jesse, you bring your paperwork with you. Did you bring your paperwork with you?
No,
I just
I
ran.
got it in the car, actually. You go get it.
You're gonna share it?
Yeah, I'm gonna go get a book that says. Oh, okay.
Because I didn't bring mine. I just listened to Dr.
Oh,
Shea.
okay.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us tonight for a special work session as we try to come up with some plans for Kerry Gosh, the old Kerry Gosh here. I guess we'll start with Dr. Mitchell. If you can provide us an overview or even an update on the presentation from the last time we spoke.
Good evening. How you all doing? Now, this project, it was birthed out of a vision of maybe a couple of years ago. A couple of the board members were talking about what they want to see in terms of curriculum and things for our students. And one of the things that kept coming up is that they want to see the trades. They want to see more of the trades. They want to see certifications. They want to see these things. And then over the past year, it became more and more talk about an alternative school. Right now, in terms of alternative school, we don't have one in East Chicago, and the relationship that we did have was with the Crossings, and every year we would send $1 million, $1.5 million to the Crossings, but we still never saw a benefit for our students. Either they didn't graduate or they didn't walk away with a certificate. We felt that we can do better if we were to utilize the resources that we have, utilize the people that we have in our community, and activate things that are not being utilized. And so what came up was, what do we do with Kerry Gosh, the school that you're sitting in right now? We know that the legislation that was passed by the state legislature says that if you have a school that's underutilized or unused, you have to, if a charter school wants it, you have to give it to them for $1. The valuation of this building that you're sitting in right now is $28 million. Do you think that's fair to the taxpayers of East Chicago? You're going to give a resource away, an asset away for $1 that right now has a value of over $28 million. We felt that we can do something better with this resource, and that is to give it back to the community and turn it into an asset that would not only help build our community and empower our people, but also have a return on equity of 8 times the amount that's here. That's the way the financing work when we talk about social and community impact. For every dollar that you give, there's usually $8 return on investment. But I would like to say that that return is even better than we thought, as Mr. Adam O'Doherty will be speaking, the president of United Way. Mr. Adam O'Doherty.
You all hear me?
No, here.
I'm getting mic'd up. Better watch out. Oh, you don't want to hear me sing. I'll be chasing everybody out. All right, well. Yeah, that works. That'll work. Well, thank you, everybody, for coming. My name is Adam O'Doherty. I'm the president and CEO of United Way Northwest Indiana. You might have heard of the United Way Lake area or Porter County. We did a merger probably about 2.5 years ago, and I'm the recipient of being their first CEO. I'm not from this region, but I take this serious, the work we do. So my background, just give you a little definition. I grew up in North Minneapolis. Any Minnesota people here? No Minnesota Vikings fans? No Prince fans? Nothing? Oh, okay. Prince, there we go. All right, we got some fans here. So I grew up in a neighborhood not dissimilar to Northern Lake County. In North Minneapolis, it was called Murderapolis my entire time growing up there. And the thing that struck me odd is every single time in my neighborhood I walk out those doors, there were 0 opportunities. At least no one told me there was opportunities. And it really upset me. I saw a lot of my friends get incarcerated. Some got killed. And during this time, I got very fortunate. I was very lucky. I was a very good runner. My brothers are super tall. I'm really short, as you can tell. So I think it made me a great track runner. And that's what allowed me to go to college to be the first person in my family. So that was my opportunity. But I never took that. I always saw that as a chip on my shoulder, still to this day, about how do we empower people that have been voiceless for too long, ostracized across the side, ignored, and oftentimes demoralized. And so when Lisa Doherty, my other partner, she's from CWI, if you know her, she's fantastic. Doherty O'Doherty, I know it gets really confusing and weird, but we started thinking about how does Work One, her agency, and how does our agency, which we run a program called Level Up, work together? We work with the underemployed, they work with the unemployed. How do we start working together? And this is how this whole Opportunity Hub really came to life, is that we realized the way services are provided or workforce development is provided is dead wrong. Meaning we're going to build a location in Crown Point or Maryville or where have you, and we're going to expect people to come through our doors. That does not work. We have surveyed our clients just alone just to see how many barriers and challenges they had to go through on a daily basis just to get to where we were at. And they went through 9 obstacles, meaning they went to one agency who said, we can't serve you. They went to the next one, can't serve you. Well, this one you can kind of get here, but you got to need this. So imagine all this time and sweat equity they had to put in to make their opportunities come to life. How many people did we lose during that journey? A lot. We know in East Chicago right now, the number of unemployed and underemployed is 2/3 of the city. That is something we got to change. And so when we thought about opportunities, we started thinking about what are those communities. So we looked at 111 census tracts to condense it down to where we're sitting right now is one of them. And we only selected 5 to choose from. And this is one, because this is an area that has plenty of opportunity. The people see it. They want it. They want the opportunities to succeed. The services just have been ignoring this part of East Chicago for way too long. We have a lot of nonprofits in the area, but they don't come to East Chicago. They go to Hammond, they might go to Gary, but oftentimes they ignore East Chicago. So we want to change that. We want to bring the opportunities right here in this building to help the community. Let's build it. Let's build this generational of opportunities. And the way we do it is, if you all know service providers and nonprofits, we work in silos, which is also wrong. This is a way for us to intentionally do the work together, where when someone walks through these doors, they're not a number. They're a human being, and they're treated that way, where the first person they see is going to be the most welcoming and friendly person they've ever seen in their life, who's going to help them and navigate. And we're going to work with each person as a team effort to succeed. Not, well, we don't do that, take the next door, and we're not going to work together that way. So we have a commitment with every partner that's coming in these hubs. The obligation is to work together, to be on the same systems, to have this mentality of how do we help? Treat people like humans, not like numbers. And so I can't be more thrilled than to have these opportunity collaboratives, because we're going to be so revolutionary in this area, and East Chicago could be the first one to take full flight of this, to flip the script on how we provide services, to get people here, to this is their neighborhood. We don't want to be, I hate to use this term, we don't want to be the white knighting type agencies. I'm sure you've seen them your whole life. I won't pick on a few local ones that have done this, where they come in, some fancy investors, a large organization go, hey, this is what we're going to do for you. And it's not what the community asked for. It's not what the community needed. We don't want to do that. We want, this whole thing is generated by the locals. CWI and myself, the United Way, we're just the co-leads, helping facilitate, bring people together, and eliminate those barriers to make these dreams possible. But it truly is organically run by the community. Ideally so that each of these hubs will have a neighborhood advisory council made up of the people on the blocks here that are seeing over recommendations for the building. Like, hey, this is what the community wants. This is what they like. These are things that aren't going right. We need to hear that voice and not be the white knighting mentality. So this is really where the hubs are. I'm going to give it back to Dr. Mitchell, who's going to go over more of the logistics of what this vision could be within this building.
And so as we put the building together, we put the building together with 5 pillars. The first pillar was employer engagement. Many times when people are looking for a job, you have to go to Hammond, over on Holman Avenue. You got to go to Gary, you got to go to Crown Point. Many times you have to find your way outside to Valparaiso. We're saying that that employment hub, employer engagement should be here. And there was an environmental scan that was done, and it says that within this area alone, that there's over 2,100 jobs that's available now, and in the next year and a half, there will be 4,500 jobs. That's right here in this area alone. Now, you've got to take it that many of you all hear about the steel mill hiring, BP hiring, and all those places, but we never see our people get those jobs. That's because by the time we find out about it, the jobs are already taken. But if we have the opportunity and the employers here, such as CWI and Work One, and we had the employer has a presence here as an organization with their community engagement liaisons, then we'll find out about that job maybe before it's posted. And now we have an opportunity not only to prepare someone for that job, but we also have an opportunity to ensure that the person has an equal opportunity in getting that job. So that's part of the employer engagement. And we have a few partners that's associated with that employer engagement, such as CWI, Goodwill, EDC. Of course, we're an employer. The hospital is an employer, BP, Cleveland Cliffs. And then you have your college and university as well as the entrepreneur piece that will take place in this building. The second pillar that we have is technology and youth. A lot of times we build these things, we do these things, and we forget about our youth. And then we turn around and say, our youth are bad, they don't care for anything, and it's just because we haven't provided the opportunities. I remember growing up in New Edition in the harbor and having plenty of opportunities, right? There was always summer jobs, there was always something to do, always programs, and now those programs have been limited to maybe the Catherine House. So now this gives opportunity for there to be an innovation hub where the children can come here to not only do the recreation with the huge basketball court. As a matter of fact, this is the largest basketball court in the elementary school that we have in the city, right? In this building, the largest. It's a beautiful court. And so that's just basketball. That's not counting the other things they can come for. They can come for the technology hub that will be upstairs. In that technology hub, they can learn about AI, cybersecurity, esports. We also have Ivy Tech will also be a partner in the building where they can, again, take classes, not only our youth, but also people in our community. And of course, many of these things are all certification driven. That means that if they take that course, they're going to get credit towards the certification or towards a degree. The other part of that is the arts, culture, and entertainment. If you pulled up to this venue today, pulling up to the school, what did you see? When I pulled up, I saw a beautiful school that would look way better, grounds kept, building updated, better than some of our schools that we currently have our children in today. So imagine you pulling up to this school and walking in and you have all types of services. And then on top of that, you're able to get entertainment. We have a beautiful 400-seat auditorium in this building, as well as we're surrounded by about 6 acres outside that we're looking to work directly with the Parks Department to put an amphitheater outside, right before you get to the canal. We don't want to go so far to the canal that someone jumps in, but right out the back door, there's a nice slope that an amphitheater can go in that space. And so that means that this place becomes a destination, not only for you to get your skills up, but also for you to have a good time. The third pillar is real estate development. As goes most innovative projects, any real estate deal, there's development that comes right alongside of it. So if you've paid attention coming up here, you'll see that they tore down the old projects, but you also see some movement on those grounds right now. And right to the east of that, they're building a new manufacturing facility. And that manufacturing logistics facility is going to employ somewhere, I think the number was around 400 jobs. So that's coming to this space. And then there's a housing component that the redevelopment is currently working on. I believe that Brother Artist can speak to that. I know it's been a long time coming. There's been some people saying that it's never going to get here, it's never going to happen. But finally, we have some earth moving, and ICTA has also stepped up to the plate and provided money. They've also provided a $1.3 million revolving loan fund so that when one house is built and sold, that money goes back into the fund, and then they can build and sell, they can build another one, and that will continue on into perpetuity. So as we look at these things, there are a number of instruments that are being utilized at this time to really revitalize Calumet. This is not the Calumet that I used to come over and, like you, I was a track star, and have to run out of this place to get back over the bridge in New Edition. But again, now I can come over, we can come over and we can really have a great time, learn something, entertain ourselves, and just have a really great place that you can come and change your life. And then the fifth pillar is community support services. And so with that, that's where we get into Geminis will also be locating in the building if this happens. They will have that whole wing over there will be the early learning wing. And that early learning wing will take care of children 1 to 3 years old. They will come over to the new Cary Gosh, which is Old West Side building, we have pre-K and kindergarten there. So now we capture those students that come into our district from 1. So they become a Cardinal at 1 year old. And now that helps us grow our enrollment from that point until they graduate as seniors out of Central High School. So again, these are things that we're putting in place. Also with the community support services, we also have the North Township Trustee, Catholic Charities, we have Salvation Army, Urban League. There's banks also have shown interest in setting up, doing financial literacy courses. And also there's this thing called CRA, Community Reinvestment Act. That means that the incubator that will be upstairs, we have Entrepreneurship Center that will be upstairs in this building. That incubator, once they go through those classes to get certified that they have the basic skills to become an entrepreneur, then they come downstairs to this wing here where we will have our community organization set up, and they'll be able to talk to a banking organization such as People's Bank, Horizons Bank, Centier Bank, those local regional banks, to get some more information and possibly capital to actually live out their dream. So as we look at this, we all come back to the very first thing that I started with. What do you do with an asset that's worth $28 million that if you do nothing with, you lose it for $1? You activate it. You turn that $28 million and make it magnify, and you grow it with an 8 times return on investment. I'm going to turn it back over to Adam, and then he'll share with you what that investment looks like.
Yeah, so the investment, if you just think of just Michigan City and East Chicago, those are our 2 fastest moving hub potentials. If we look at just the goal for 2032, we put our calculations there. If we just got people a higher paid job or a job, 5,000 people that we tend to serve, it actually equates to $1.3 billion with a B dollars in return investment by 2032. Imagine that being in this community, what that could really do. It could reshape what we view in this community. So that includes new wages, new earnings, new taxes, new assets, new gross regional products, obviously investment back in the community by leveraging businesses. So it's really good. One thing we really want to focus on with youth is closing the youth employment gap and the underemployment gap, and also for our adults as well. So sometimes folks aren't quite ready to get a high-paying job, but how do we get them at least started there? Let's get them the skills they need day one to feel confident in themselves, so when they look in a mirror, they feel that empowerment that they can do this, that they're not beaten down. That's what we want to do. We want everybody that walks through this door and out those doors to feel every single time they go out those doors a sense of empowerment and that confidence, because we know if we can do that, the possibilities are endless. And so that's really what we're trying to do, is change the narrative of what I said of 2/3 of being unemployed, underemployed in East Chicago, to flip that. We need to make this a thriving community, because I know the passion here. I was very fortunate when I first moved here. I couldn't find a house. I couldn't find a place to live. So for 4 months, I was like a traveling salesman living out of my car. But I stayed in East Chicago for 3 weeks. It was more by the library, but I stayed there for 3 weeks. And one of the things I like to do when I come to a new community is I like to walk around and talk to the locals. And I want to see what's going right, what's going wrong. And one of the things I saw that was so evident about East Chicago is the passion. I have not seen that in Northwest Indiana. East Chicago has that passion and drive. You can't find more of a tight-knit community that if some disaster happened in this community, every single person's community would rally together like that. And that's important. I think with that kind of energy and with what we're trying to do here, we can make the dreams happen of creating these opportunity hubs so everybody has those opportunities to thrive in this community.
Yeah. And then you asked the question, well, has this been done before? The last Opportunity Hub is, the final parts are coming online now is at John Marshall High School. That's in one of the most impoverished areas in Indianapolis. And that area has similar demographic as Gary and East Chicago combined, right? The unemployment rate there is around 53%. The poverty rate is upwards of 43%. And so those numbers start to look a little bit like our numbers, maybe a little bit worse in some cases. But they took an old school, John Marshall High School, that was 317,000 square feet, and turned it into an opportunity innovation hub, and it's changed that whole area. The community right next to it started to blossom. That area, the home values went up significantly, just for the simple fact that as they put that in, people started to upskill. Employers started to look and say, well, look, why do I need to go over here and build something where I'm not going to be able to really afford the type of people I need? I can build right here. And as they started to make that investment, they had the population of people that can take those jobs. And so that's what we're really looking at. We know that East Chicago deserves better. We are better. And this is one way for us to get there. So I'm going to turn this back over to our board president, Jose Artiega. Mr. Artiega.
At this time, are there any questions from board members on this proposal or any comments that they would like to make? Observations, thoughts?
Mr. President,
Yes.
I do have one question. Knowing that the average adjusted gross here in East Chicago is anywhere between $29,000 to $31,000.
Jeremy, is there a way we can get the
is it
mic
on?
up? The mic levels up?
Can you hear me now?
Oh, there we go.
Okay. So the average gross income here in East Chicago is $29,000 to $31,000 a year. And say if there's an individual who has been working hard, but just don't have that certification or that opportunity to make anywhere between $55,000 to $64,000, which is the state adjusted rate,
Right.
can they do that when they walk into these doors?
Absolutely. Like, as a matter of fact, our program at United Way, Level Up, that's exactly what it's designed to do. So if someone comes into our program, they're working, they just can't make ends meet. They're in that category, as Joel said. And what would end up happening is they get assigned a case manager through us. And these case managers are trained in every aspect. They've walked that life. They understand it. We hear from every single one of our clients that's graduated that we were their first nonprofit that's treated them like a human from start to finish. And that's a testament to what we do. But when they come in our program, we want them to dream. So we don't say, here's our 10 programs, pick one. We don't have a cookie cutter approach. We want them to pick their destination, but it has to be to a job that will pay those wages. And so once they're in our program, we do require financial literacy, because the last thing we want them to do is be unstabilized, and then if they're making more money, to be in the same predicament. So that is a requirement. But while they're in our program, let's say childcare, rent, utility, any of these financial barriers in the way, it could be even simple, like I couldn't afford a Chromebook to even get in my class. I couldn't afford steel toe boots to get in my training. We eliminate those financial barriers while they're in our program, and that's the way they can just focus on their dreams. So, and the reason why we're able to do that is obviously we have funding that comes in, but it's through our partnerships with our trainers, our college institutions, our certification-based places, and we work out a lot of leverage partnerships so we can make this happen. And so that makes our Level Up program unique. The unemployed is more Work One, Goodwill, those type of agencies, but if they start off with Work One, they can finish up with us if they want to excel their career to a different level. And so that is our goal, and we've so far been able to get 567 people through our program currently, and I've already graduated in our pilot 2 years here, and we want to grow that to 1,000 plus a year, and we're able to do that so through these opportunity hubs. We're ready to scale, and we're hoping East Chicago can be one of those that we can scale with.
Thank you.
My concern is, as a board member, my first time hearing about the individuals that was going to be a part of this was April 18th of this year. I know there had always been some talk about what they were going to do with this building here. And the community, as well as some of my colleagues up here, we always have spoke of a training center here, CTE, and there's the need for an alternative school. This here map that I have here that was given to me on the 18th, once again, I did not know that all these individuals was going to be coming to this meeting. I did not know. And so you call Cary Gotch the hub. I don't even know if a lot of the people living in the community know that this is what you're calling Cary Gotch a hub. But what's all around this school here is some of the area is going over into the West Calumet area, which we did not tour. We did not go on that tour outside. We haven't taken the tour outside to see all of where all this other entities are going to take place here. I didn't see any of this, but my concern is that we're going to go over into Magnolia, which is over in the West Calumet. Then you say the logistics is coming. Now you say those are jobs. I've not heard of no jobs. They just, excuse me, they're just saying that it's a warehouse. No jobs, just logistics is what they're saying here. And so I think that me as a board member, I think that we better be kind of ask more questions, be involved with this community here as to what they want to see here. Yes, we do want to see the trades. That we have been talking about for a long time, and it is way overdue. We do need an alternative school. That we need that as well too for our children to have another alternative of getting somewhere to go. Now, right now, and what's the time frame on this project here? What are we speaking of?
So I'll just answer some of the questions. So the visuals you see outside of the building here,
Yes.
those were just to put in place that this could be happening. It's not meant to be in stone because after this meeting, and there's plenty more meetings to go, we just wanted to show that it doesn't just have to stay within the walls of this building, that there could be development possibilities that are outlined around this into the community. And the reason why this is a little more aggressive in timing is when we started these conversations, we had a lot of nonprofit partners for the first two big meetings. And we got those ideas, and you can see that in some of the work we've done. And then from that larger community, we scaled it down to having a steering committee to be more effective and fast, because we had to get this submitted by tomorrow, the first proposal for those ready $2, which we're hoping to get $10 or $12 million from to fund this project. And, you know, nothing's set in stone. Like, we are, even like where you see the inside the Kerry Gosh of what those possibilities are, that's all just theoretical at this point. We still plan on having a lot more meetings going forward to really define that, like, who could those partners be? What are those services that the school, the community are really asking for that should be in here, that have not been outlined in that? This was just to put a visual to see from our conversations what people are saying as a need and using some of the data points. So I just don't want you to be set on that as the absolute.
Well, excuse me, but I got to be set on this because this is what was given to me April 18th. Now, all what you speaking of right now, I don't have that in place. So see, what I'm saying is that people, you know, we want good things to come to our neighborhood. We are well overdue. This is a beautiful building. And we have not, from my understanding, I don't think we've lost the building yet to the charter schools. Have we lost the building to the charter schools yet? And this building been sitting empty. And it's sitting empty. It's not empty, it's being utilized, but it's being utilized with maintenance equipment in here. It's being utilized. So they're not gonna come and get the building just yet for $1 because it is being utilized. So I don't want y'all to get scared and think that, well, they're gonna come and get the building, that we don't hurry up and do some rush into this plan here. That's what I'm trying to say as a board member. Now, I did hear that you mentioned Mr. Randy Artis here. I don't know what all his input was gonna be on with Mr. said that, you know, he knows something about this here. Do anybody else out in the audience know something about this too?
About what? Just an observation. There are cities, surrounding cities that have, when they say hub, what they're talking about is one building that has a lot of different resources. Now, as a citizen, as an educator, and when I think about my students, if they can all come here and get services from gymnasts, from Ivy Tech, if they can talk to, if they can be trained, that's a plus.
Yeah.
That is a plus, because, and then if you have childcare, so if you are a student here and you have childcare, you don't have to worry about where your children are. Or if I have to drop them off on one side of town and then come here. But this is for the entire city, not just for the neighborhood. This is a plus.
That's an
When I
understanding.
look at it,
That's an
this would
understanding.
be a plus for the city of East Chicago, because those citizens who are under.
Right.
Yeah, but I'm just saying,
I know what you're
As a-
interrupting the train of thought here.
I understand,
I'm
but what I'm
trying to hear
saying,
what he's talking about, you can hold yours.
yeah, but what I want to say is
Actually,
that this is
there's gonna be some,
This-
sorry, there's gonna be some time for community
audience,
discussion.
right.
This is
What I'm
a,
saying.
Right.
What I'm saying is that this is not a
You can let this
negative,
man finish,
this is
please.
a
Right.
Because I
positive
come in
for
for
our
this.
city.
Thank
It's
you.
not just for the
Thank you.
community, it's for the city.
Right.
thank you.
Let this man finish, please.
Thank you.
We're
I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
gonna get that globe going, if you put a break it in a minute, we're gonna get them in.
And it's not a question of.
Go ahead, Ms.
Thank you, I appreciate that, thank you. It's not a question of them calling it a hub. Most people may look at this, well, you know, they know this as Kerry Gosh School. Okay, so when you don't make that reference to these people, yeah, there's a lot of things that you can build around a hub, okay, like such as this map right here. Okay, but like I said, this was the first time that I saw this map was April 18th. Now you're saying that there are going to be some more talk, whatever. We know what we need in our community. Okay, we know more so what we need than anybody. Okay, and so this is what, but we never have a chance to have our input when we, you know, and then when we look up, well, hey, it's already there. Then we say, oh, well, when did all of that come? So we don't want that to happen.
No,
We
and I don't want that to happen either.
Well, I'm just expressing my concern here as a board member, okay? So this is not just only for this district, this is for all over. We do have other schools, you know what I'm saying? But this is a beautiful school here.
Oh, yeah.
And like I said, there's no school that I'm aware of that the charter schools have taken over. So I don't want that to be like a scare tactic or anything, like we gotta hurry up and do something with this building, or those kind of things, okay? And we do need revenue. So, but like Mr. Gomez said, one question was, where is the schools gonna benefit from all this? I ain't heard nobody yet say where the school gonna benefit, and they gonna use the hub.
Yeah,
I do have I'm sorry, I do have a follow-up question for Jewel, if you
Yeah.
can answer that.
Yes.
I know that there's been some changes in the law when it got to this whole charter school
Yes,
business.
it is,
Is there an update on, or can you give us
Yeah.
an update or kind of where we are in those conversations?
Yes, the law has changed.
Yes.
The way it works now is you have to utilize schools at least up to 60% for educational purposes.
Right.
It can't be used for non-educational purposes, and you shield it from the potential of a charter school taking it. So the way it works now is you have to at least be able to demonstrate a 60% utilization rate for educational purposes for all of your buildings.
And that takes place on July 1st?
Correct.
Which is why
Coming
we
up
have
soon.
this exigency to this. Okay.
But my question was, it ain't never had happened, we've never lost a school.
Well, now.
That was my question. I know the
Yeah.
update, I know the changes is coming, okay? That's what I know, but I'm saying this for the audience, they may not know these things.
My only question is, I know that we have been downstate fighting for this particular money for the last, 2-3 years, I know for a fact, with Representative Earl Harris and and Senator Randolph. When it was brought to the table that they figured out and realized the importance of the CTE or the community aspects of the job training, alternative schools, that's when the Republicans honestly really realized there was a need for these skills, which is a first, because normally you know that it's all about them and not about us. So from that point, going to different meetings down in Indianapolis, meeting different people from the workforce, and Indianapolis partnering, the city of Indianapolis partnering with the schools along with the legislation. So my only question to that is, I missed the deadline, but I know it's legislation and I know it passed. So the deadline is when? The deadline for us to apply for monies or
Through the
finances?
state,
Excuse me?
for the state, you're asking?
Yes.
That I don't know, because I know there's still earmarked dollars out there
Oh, yeah.
that could be allocated budget.
Okay, but my problem is, see, we always with the last ones to know about all of this. So by that time, I'm not saying that we're slow poking around. I'm just saying, if we don't put our bid in, then that's the smallest part. Everybody else always, they're on top of everything. They get the bigger dollars. By the time it trickles down to in Chicago, Indiana, Gary, or Hammond, we get the little portions.
Right.
If we start now, we can basically get as much as we possibly can, because I do know that Carmel, all the rest of those particular areas, they're gonna get theirs first because they're on top of everything. And I'm sorry to say, the more we procrastinate, the less we get. So then that means different projects and different programs fall through the crack because we have not followed through. And I understand what Trustee Gibson is saying, this is the first that we heard about it. This is something that when we went to the ISBA, they were talking, had a panel, and one of the, I'm sorry to say this, even if we're on television, one of the most hardest senators to talk to appreciated what was, needed. And that's how that push got through legislation. Now, trust and believe me, I kind of know him personally. He's not for us, but for this particular program, and for us not to lose this charter, to sell our schools to charter schools, he was on board for it. My only concern is, I know we all have a lot of questions to do, but please don't let somebody else's district get $15 million and we get for 12 million. What can we do with 12 million? We can't, if we can go on and start the motion, get our projects and stuff together, we can get a big portion of that. And I'm just gonna say this, and I'm gonna leave this alone. And I think I made a testimony on this last time. Back in the day, Miss Charlene, Miss Randolph, or some of you all that's a little bit older, remember the projects that they had with Mr. Passmore. Remember Mr. Passmore and Miss Emma Moore? Yeah, right. Right, we had it here, that's right. I was
We had a school board.
Yeah.
We had schools.
Right,
we had
right,
schools.
I
We don't
understand
have
that.
now.
Right, okay, well,
And-
listen.
But how you gonna get them back?
Okay, well, listen.
The school needs to take this building and do something that you have not done.
But
And
that's what-
utilize, the school, United Way was a intrinsic part of our community.
It sure was.
Pennsylvania Center, all the community centers tied
They-
into
to United Way, that's how they got
United Way,
their
what you should be doing, and I hear everything you're talking about, but you wanna, farming out, you wanna take control of this piece of property that we paid our tax dollars for, okay? And y'all shut down, like you said, it
Sure
was
did.
contaminated.
That's right.
Now, 2 days later, you wanna pull everybody back up, all these children, all this land and entertainment centers and parks, and torn half of Chicago torn down. Okay, so it's a smoke screen for I'm concerned. I'm 38 years old, I've been here too long, and I've watched too long, and I've heard too many. You may try to be the executive, but you're not going to be. So this is the circumstances we've been brought to. This, the school board, you got this building, do you all own it now? School
We
system,
still-
you
yeah,
all
this
own
is
the
our
building.
building.
Right.
And you all do what y'all supposed to do as trustees, put it to work. You don't give it to somebody, we don't know what we got.
We didn't say we were giving it to anybody.
We wouldn't want it.
We need something going, but I want to hear the school board.
Oh, no. And as far as I'm concerned, nobody would be in control of this but the school board.
But that is not what I'm hearing him say.
No, we would
No,
not be
They're
owners.
just a partnership.
Yeah.
I didn't hear that.
They're just a
I want-
partnership. We are in
No,
control.
I didn't hear that.
No, we have no intention.
President, let's have order.
Hey, yes, hey.
You two, I didn't hear it that meeting, and I don't hear it.
I want to
today.
remind,
Now, we
I
said
want
that
to,
the school said it
excuse me,
was-
excuse me. I want to remind everybody that this is an official board meeting, and this is a work session for the board. Now, I know that there's a lot of community input, and we will have a community input session when we do finalize whatever plan we're going to do with this space.
You gonna do it now? I'm sorry, sir, what you said?
We are going to have community input when we decide what we are going to do with this space.
But you got to have a community input before you make all these vast things. 'Cause you
We
an
are
elected
not-
official.
we are
Listen,
not
listen,
making a
you are an
decision.
elected official. I
Yeah.
pay taxes here, and I'm sure each of you do as well. So I want to point order
Excuse-
that tell us what you want to do.
We
And
are-
if you're telling us you bring this
We
up,
do not know what we're going to do yet because this is the second time that we are having this work session so we can figure out what we're going to do with these options. We're not voting tonight. We're not doing anything. We are having a discussion. We are having a discussion with everyone.
I guess what he's trying to say is, all we're trying to do is make the first step. The first step is to let you know the information that is particularly taking place. Second of all, like he said, we're not making any decisions right now. My only decision I'm worried about is not losing that money downstate. I'm just sorry. That's my thing. I mean, wait a minute, hold it, Charlie. Right now, I'm not, if we can, whether we secure the building or not, I still want that money's in place. That's just like you cannot go shopping without any money. I don't want to, I'm not saying we're gonna give the building away. I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying, let's get a plan where we can secure $15.5 million. Let's not let that money go to waste because we procrastinate and go back and forth, back and forth. Yeah, we have a lot of different comments and different opinions. But my thing is, don't let that money leave our area, whether it's on this side of Calumet, whether it's on the other side of the river, or where, no matter what. As long as it's helping our community, East Chicago, our community, wait a minute, I don't care about all that. Right now, I'm saying is, Charlene, if we don't secure that money, we lose.
How do we secure the money? Who's security? Do we go directly to our legislature?
You have to, the money's been allocated. We have to go down there and they have to go and do the proper paperwork and the proper procedure in order to get that done. But we can't do anything until we talk to the community.
Yes. Thank you, trustee, oh my gosh, Rodriguez.
Can you guys hear me?
What you got to say,
First of all, I believe back in 2016, there was an opportunity for a joint partnership with this school. And of course, the school received the lease for this partnership. It went down to legislation. However, School City submitted the same request for the amount of money so that this partnership, and I believe it was 4 counties involved with this. And what I'm saying is that this is only the implementations phase. This is a phase where we have input and ideas and partnering and what we can do to help better our community. Now, whether United's Way, how you feel about United's Way personally, but I'm gonna say this, if they're considered a partner, it's great for all of us. And the same with all the other partners, that's what it's all about. It's a one-stop shop, which we don't have in East Chicago. And I think one of the communities mentioned that.
I'm not issuing with the need. Everything he has here, there's no question, because we come through that era of hubs, if you will. But you had New Careers was housed in another building. You had Mr. Passmore, what you're talking about, he was housed over here. And you had United Way tied of all of the centers. They were targeting all the community centers in the city of Chicago, working with the original director and all of them. I don't think they're real over there. But still, Norma Jean Moore, myself, and many of us was partners with these agencies. We know we brought them into the city. You do need them. This is really like a community center in a sense, because you done tore out the one which was 151st Street. Martin Luther King, is it still up? It's still up, but it's
So
closed. So what I'm saying is, you got activity, we can have activity, but I did not hear, even when I listened to you on YouTube when you made the presentation, and I didn't hear you today. No one answered Mr. Gomez's question, because I was waiting for the answer. You want to know what do we get out of this? Okay?
Yeah.
Now, I cannot see this building, which you tore a whole community down, disrupt the entire African-American community. Children, we know where they're at, no we don't. Thousands of dollars were spent here, the houses are gone. We cannot change that now, because it's done. But I don't think I can sit here and watch you take and dismantle the rest of it. And I look up and we have nothing. And I don't live in Calumet now, but I did.
Let me say, Ms. Mahone, let me finish what I was saying since you interrupted. So they're at the point right now where they're getting their partners together, they're getting their finances together. This is all development 101, right? You start with the implementation, you get to the enhancements phase where community plays a role in every step of the process. And to my understanding, by 2025, with the partners, they're looking at having this place open and ready. Now, second, just to answer your question on the financial portion of it, whatever rent that comes out of this building will go into School City, which will help our programs, which will help our athletic department, which will help our academics. So it's not going anywhere. It's still the communities. It's still yours. The question is whether you guys are willing to accept this opportunity or not. Because if they don't, they're going to go somewhere else like they did before. And I think hearing some of the other partners that are also getting involved, we're not, nothing's right, there's nothing sealed solid, right? There's no writing, there's none of this. We're here to have a conversation. I'm glad we're having this, and I'm glad we're having this courageous conversation right now. Now, I do like maps, don't get me wrong, because I like forecasts, because that's where redevelopment comes in. They want to see if this development prosper, now we can see other opportunities coming. We're not saying that it's coming today, but it will come as long as we're willing to adapt to it and to work with it and to move forward in our community with the school city and with the partners.
Do any other trustees at this time have any questions or comments? Thank
Mr.
you.
President.
We are at the very beginnings of having discussions. Go ahead, trustee Gomez.
Yeah, so from the beginning, as my colleague said, the board was taken somewhat by surprise. I think you know that. You may have felt it. We were unprepared. We had no background until we were handed this document. And there's a lot of information here. More questions came to mind, but yes, my question was, what do we get out of it? What's in it for us? And for example, I guess I'm trying to understand where you talk about all these different organizations being involved in the, I don't know, I could probably say there's a dozen partnerships here. Okay, great, but who's going to run this facility? And I think the school board ought to have a real involvement in this. And I think the community ought to have more than one voice in this, especially this community, because they have gone through quite a lot. And, I think it's a disservice to not include this community in particular in this project. So I stand very firmly on that side. I want you to understand that. You mentioned certifications. I'm curious. I know that we've entered into some partnerships. So where would the certifications be? Would they be recognized certifications? And tell me more about the certifications.
Yeah, so if you want me to answer the previous two questions, I can, but otherwise I'll just jump right to certifications.
Whichever you'd like to do.
So the ownership, we as United Way or any of the nonprofits do not want to be owners. We would love the school to stay owners. That's part of the plan. Or eventually, if a community organization rises up and says we want to be owners and it works out with the school board, great. We want a stable partner that can be relevant, and that's the school board. That's what it should be. Yeah, absolutely. And every hub's a little different. Some are like, no, I want a community organization to run it. But here, you guys have a very hands-on school board that is active. That's not and always the case in some schools. So I know as United Way, we don't ever want to own it because that'll set a precedent, then we have to own all the rest. And we just don't have the capacity to be landlords, yet alone running all these, multi-million-dollar facilities. So just want to clarify that. As far as the certifications goes, so the Office of Higher Education has made a big push to look at certifications in a whole new realm. Before it was always 2-year, 4-degree. But they're including certifications in that process of accreditation. So all the certifications that we will be working with will be vetted, whether it's through an agency like a college or higher ed, or as we think about our trades, getting the unions together saying, can you work with us to design a curriculum and approval so when people graduate from this certification that you all said was great, we know they're ready for the apprenticeship programs when they walk out those doors. So there's no questions. They can't say, well, they didn't qualify for that math. You all signed an agreement saying this certification is real, it's legit. When you're out the door, you're in the apprenticeship program making $40 an hour as you start off as an apprentice. So that's what we want to do. And we can do that because we can leverage with all the partnerships, including you all and everybody in this room. We can bring that together. As far as, what is the asset for the school? Of course, the rent is a big one, but, we're ready $2 to bring over $15 million to this. So think of the IEDC dollars that are available. But beyond that, Lilly has $250 million that are allocated at the state level. That is something, when we look at the benchmarks of what has to happen, this Opportunity Hub meets every single one of those requirements. So there is an opportunity for us to get significant dollars from Lilly Endowment to bring to this community that otherwise wouldn't have been able to happen. because they will not work with, they're not going to fund one agency. They want to see these collaboratives happen. So there's a lot of money out there that we could be bringing into this community to leverage. And that all comes with a partnership because that comes strengths. It's not even, if the United Way just went out and asked for those dollars, we'd get laughed at. But if we all bring everybody together, it makes it more serious. So.
And then just one more thing about the certifications. If you all recall, over the past year, you guys have signed a number of memorandums of understanding. One was articulation agreement with ICOR, that's the trades union for carpenters and millwrights. You signed MOUs with colleges and universities that also is providing certification training for not only for our students, but also for our teachers. There was also other certs that already were in place with CT that we're able to expand, such as NCCER and MSSC. Those are also construction trades and manufacturing trades. And those manufacturing trades from MSSC, those are called next generation trades. So you got your logistics in there, you got your technician, you got your production technician, and those jobs are those jobs that get you prepared for the BPs and the Cleveland Cliffs and those places. So we do, even if we didn't do this, the school district is very well prepared to begin to train our students in the trades. We all took care of that. Now, this provides a location that we don't have, because right now, what we have is a CTE wing at Central High School, but there's no place where you can do construction trades. There's no labs there. Yeah, there is. Yes, and that's part of it. That's the area, that's the cafeteria. Perfect space for construction trades. So again, Trustee Gomez, that this has been a culmination of steps that have taken over a period of time, and this just happens to be the place where it all comes together.
Right. And that's
So this is called convergence. So what we have today is convergence. We all converged here to meet. Now we can converge here to also learn, play, get prepared for employment.
I had some other questions, and so I've been around a while, and I've seen been actively part of other projects here in the city. The graphs and charts and maps all look great, but I've seen these before too, and so I have a little bit of gun shyness about this. And I just want to go to a couple more questions I have. One is about, as you toured the building, it clearly needs some upgrades. Are you looking at, how are you looking at the upgrades? You're not expecting the schools to pay for this, correct?
This is money, I was talking about that we'd be bringing in from the IEDC, Lilly, other investors, other funders, things that all of us could bring to the table. Yeah, we estimated, just by glance and walking around, of course, things can get more expensive or less, but we think it's going to cost on the point of about $15 million that we're going to have to bring in, not the school board, to make this building happen.
Yeah, and, at the end of the day, whatever, I think the board, I'll always speak for myself, but I think the sentiment of my colleagues would probably be that we don't want to do that investment. We have enough on our plate right now, and we're struggling. We're losing ESSER dollars in a few, and, we certainly don't want to burden taxpayers either. So I think that's really key to me individually, so that.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. If we had the taxpayers pay money here, we would be failed.
Yeah.
Our job as the entities that would be in here is to leverage those dollars collectively and to start leveraging them in. And we have a real good shot just here, we'll find out here in about a month, to get 15 million just from the IEDC. So, and that's not even us tackling other opportunities. So I definitely don't want this to be a burden on the school board. I wouldn't ask this to be a burden on the school board or for the school to say, hey, how do we wiggle more budget dollars to make this thing sustainable? That's not the idea. That would be for us. We want to provide an asset. So.
With the ready dollars, those dollars can't be used for programming. Those dollars have to be used for infrastructure and logistics. So those dollars will go into making this building handle the programming that we plan to put into the building. So that's one of the great things about Ready. This Ready 1 happened, those were released the year before last, and now this is Ready 2. Ready 2, they rethought it a little bit and said, hey, they need to have more of a community impact. And that's why this is so attractive to communities like East Chicago, to be prepared for that. Otherwise, there are other Ready applications that's out there that has nothing to do with building and empowering people. It's about, again, they use those infrastructure dollars to build another factory or something, but it won't be in our community. This happens in our community.
I'll go back to, I'll go back to that in a second, but Councilman Artis and I, when we were on the council together, we want to see if there was going to be a project in the city that we would have locals working in that project. Do you foresee, or what opportunities do you foresee for people to learn on-the-job skills here as we're going through this $15 million upgrade?
Yeah, I mean, all the trains here are for locals. You're not gonna get someone from Crown Point coming up here. It's for the locals. And the skill chains that are here are pathways. So even in some of the, probably not in that one, but some of the other documents is like, how do we get our youth engaged on planning the redevelopment? They should be the ones planning for their community. So how do they participate in that? Working with those professionals. If we're gonna build housing, how do we get those folks here that are in here doing the training to get integrated out here, to get that experience, that firsthand experience in their community? Because we know that's what builds communities. And so that is the opportunity that we're looking for. And to kind of go back a second too is to Trustee Rodriguez's point. This is in its very infant stage. The next phase would be to really start getting the buy-in from the community, doing these learning sessions, these town hall sessions for, they get that feedback. Like, what are we missing the mark on? This, all the communities except Lisa and I are East Chicago. Born and raised, they're here, they're a representative. But we know organizations sometimes think here and not always necessarily in the right way. So that's where we have to do a better job after we get through this infant stage to really get ingrained with the community and see what those needs are. And that would be the next steps.
Yeah, and I don't want us to get too far out there without you hearing from the board, at least from me individually, that what some of my concerns are. Two final questions. One is, there was a comment made earlier about high school. Do you foresee high school classes being held here?
That hasn't been discussed, but I think there would be some if we had the,
That's the alternative school.
oh, the alternative school piece.
So yes, the alternative school is here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, right, right. Yeah, that's why I was asking. Yeah.
I thought you were saying like Central High School coming.
Oh, no, sorry, no, just for a specific
No,
program.
yeah, so part of that, that's the, excuse me, part of that, that's the alternative school, but of course, with that alternative school, we also have the trades built in for the certifications, and we made sure that our students will be priority when it comes to those certifications. So the ones that are 16 and over, that come over to here, they'll be able to enroll in those certification courses to take those certs if they are students, so they'll have priority. And also, the other part of that is that because we haven't gotten to the place of getting contractors, and we don't even know if we have the dollars, you do have an opportunity to put in a community bargaining agreement that you can say what type of contractor you want here. So if you want it to be 20%, 30% local labor participation, as the board, you all can put that into the agreement. The first thing we need to do, we need to get the application in so that we can do that, because again, these are state dollars, and the first thing that the state of Indiana is going to say is that we're the state, we don't have to use union labor, we don't have to do that. But when you write that in as the board, then it goes down to local control, and now you have a say in that, because if it doesn't meet your requirements, then it doesn't happen. So just remember, you do have that. We know we deal with collective bargaining, but this is community bargaining. That's something that I believe East Chicago, Hammond, and Gary already has. Hasn't been enforced all the time, but you have an opportunity to put some teeth into that agreement.
Yeah, and that's what I want to see. I just, I guess I probably have another question, but the one that I have more readily is this. Comment was made earlier about Ready 1 and Ready 2. As I read this, I'm going to read this straight out of their website. Ready 2 projects will be focused primarily on population growth and quality of life investments. Ready to details are outlined below, and there's a bunch of deadlines. But I want to go back and reiterate. It says will be focused primarily on population growth and quality of life. How do you see Ready to responding to this project and what they have on their website?
Yeah, so we know opportunity and prosperity brings growth. We've already had some conversations with the housing authority and folks like that and developers that if this thing gets to fruition, I think Councilman said that there hasn't been a house built here in 16 years, is that correct?
Right, that's right.
So what's saying that when we start getting
Right.
I like that data. I remember that there hasn't been a house built in 16 years here. Yeah. Oh, that's okay. But I said when you, at the last meeting, you made that comment and it struck a nerve with me in a good way. Because I was like, wow, I didn't know that there hasn't been a house built here in 16 years. Oh. Okay. Now, okay. So the growth will become from the prosperity that we can do here. You know, you get people better incomes in this community, they're going to want to buy homes, get out of rental, buy homes. So the growth, the quality of life, of course, if we're connecting folks to resources, getting to better jobs, it could even be something like didn't know childcare was accessible to me. It could be something I didn't know mental health supports were here locally. These are the kind of things that could bring that quality of life aspect. And that's why we're really focusing on the distressed communities in East Chicago, because we know that's where our market is as far as making the change.
So are you using the quality of life? Are you stretching that definition to include the schools?
For the grant?
Yeah.
So for quality of life, we're looking at the outcomes of what could happen in here. And of course, in schools, if we have a better working relationship, bringing partners into East Chicago to help partner with the schools, it's only going to make the school district that more financially effective as well. So they're not always trying to build their own resources. Let's bring the resources in the community and help the school out as well.
Thank you.
Because once you go on the website and you're looking up a district and you're looking for real estate, first thing pops up is what? Schools.
That's right.
That's the first thing that pops up is the schools.
Schools and childcare.
If I could ask a couple of questions?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. I just have a couple of quick questions, or a little more in the legal realm. But I just want to be clear on what is the name of the entity that's applying for the Ready to grant?
So it's under right now the umbrella, what they call Northwest Indiana Works, which is the collaborative. Right now it's essentially United Way and CWI are the two leads of that. We had an apply, but the money doesn't have to come to us. As this gets further along, let's say the school board approves this and they want to be the ownership of the building, the money would get dispersed to the school board.
That actually was my next question,
Okay.
is who is the recipient then of the grant? There's one thing for who's the applicant, but in the application itself, does it spell out who the recipient of the grant proceeds
No,
are?
not this round. So what they do is they took 91 applications, we're included in that, and they're vetting them out, and they're going to technically select their top 5 or less. They send those down to the state in Indianapolis, and the IEDC makes that decision of which ones get approved or not. Maybe all of them do. Maybe they're like, we like these 3, and they can get allocated more money. At that point, then they would say, we like this project. Then they start talking the logistics with us, like, who's the owner? How does this work? What's the payout going to be? So we're, several months away from that moment happening, but we wanted to get in front of you guys earlier and often so we can have these conversations and get these questions answered ahead of time. So that way, when that moment does come, if we're fortunate enough to get those dollars, that we can be prepared.
All right, so NWI Works is the applicant, right?
Yep.
Okay, and then is final school board approval of the project a condition that's explicitly included in the grant application itself?
It's not, but it is in a sense. So it helps strengthen us significantly if it is, because it shows that, yes, we're serious about this particular location. Because we actually built our East Chicago application based on the premise that would be here. But if it's not, we'll regroup and we'll find Plan B or C, whatever that has to be. But we're hoping that this is the selection because it'll expedite that process significantly faster.
Okay.
Mr. President?
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Is it on the same topic? Go ahead. I just have one more question. Yeah, what involvement will the school corporation have in terms of the curriculum for all the programs that are involved?
I would see the school, if the school's gonna be involved, and this is gonna be ownership, I would like them to be involved with helping the curriculum, because you guys are ultimately gonna understand what your youth needs and what those accreditations are gonna be. You know, most of the nonprofit resources here are adult-focused, so we know that realm, but we might drop the ball when it comes to the youth. So we really are gonna lean on the expertise of the school district to help make sure that we're not setting up any traps for the youth, like, hey, they got a certification here, oh, by the way, it doesn't transfer anywhere. So we want to make sure we're really working with the school hand in hand on making sure that we're doing this together as a team, not as us telling the school what to do.
One last question, does the possibility exist for us to include in this application that East Chicago is the exclusive site for the NWI Works project?
The exclusive site for,
Right.
this is the only site, yes.
Yeah, but my understanding of the way it works is, whether there's final school board approval or not, your application can still be submitted and still go through, correct?
It can be,
So that's the reason for my question
Gotcha.
about the exclusive site.
yes, we would love that.
I think he's saying yes, right?
Yes, we would love to have it as a school board, as the sole.
Right.
That way it won't go to, let's say, the city of East Chicago or some nonprofit in East Chicago. Yep. Right.
Yeah, and then my question was similar but, well, maybe a little bit different. Great question by Attorney Harris. The question I had was so what other entities do you have buying into this that you seem to want to have supporting this project?
As far as nonprofit resources?
Any other supporting
Yeah,
groups?
well, I know Foundations East Chicago is heavily involved. I know our city of East Chicago is heavily involved in all their departments. But of course, you know, you got Geminis who wants to be here. Ivy Tech wants some sort of presence, whether it's just training. Of course, there's a lot of for-profits, but United Way, Goodwill wants to be included here. I know they haven't always been here. Salvation Army wants to have more growth outside of just their location not too far from here, to have more presence. Our faith leaders, they want to be present here work as a collective. So, and of course, United Way, there's more and more, you know, mental health supports. We're still vetting out the best, and this is where we'll want to get local support from, is what are the needs that they're seeing, whether it's healthcare, like who's the best healthcare provider that we can provide assistance? Is it North Shore, is it this, is it that? Because we want to make sure those assets are here as well. And we've just been organically planting the seed with nonprofits along the area of saying, if we get this thing and it's here, what's the likelihood of you coming here? And it's been a very good blessing. As far as I know, NICA wants to be here too, and the food bank wants to be more present as well, add more distributions here. So that way it's centralized, people don't have to go as far, it could be right here as well.
I just want to be,
Yeah. Yep.
I just want to be clear that I appreciate you mentioning all those entities. One entity you've left out still is this community.
Yes.
So you need to have conversations with this
Right.
community as well.
That's where, after this infant stage is done, the next will be to really rely on our community partners to get these town halls, these meetings going, so we can hear those voices, even if it requires us to go up and down the block here in the neighborhoods and do some door knocking and saying, hey, you might have felt left out, but we don't want you to feel that way. What do we need here? How do we help you? What do you need to help improve your life? Is this something you want? And just really getting that feedback. And that's always been the vision since day one when Lisa and I talked, is we didn't want this to be that standard operation where a bunch of CEOs get together in a room and say, this is what we're gonna do for the community. We really want it from the community up. We learned a really good, valuable lesson from a group in South Bend. They call it the One Neighborhood Project. They did hubs, but it's different than what we're doing. Their outcome is more community resource versus the outcome of workforce development. But what was so incredible is that's exactly what they did. They had a number of like really respectful people from the community do that door knocking, do these town halls to really vet it out. It took a little bit of time, but at the end of the day, they created these neighborhood advisory councils per each of their hubs in South Bend. There's 5 of them that they're building, 3 are done. And each of those hubs, their advisory councils made up of people from the community. so that they always have a voice no matter what happens. CEOs change, board members change, all that stuff changes, but one thing that can be consistent is the voice of the community. And that's really the platform we want to see this thing grow, is being led and driven by the community. And that's why we made an effort in the very beginning that United Way and these other partners would not take ownership of it, because we're not here. We have presence here, but we're not here. And that we're trying to get more present here, but we're not born and raised in East Chicago, and we want to make sure we're real mindful of that as well.
That's why I asked the question.
Yeah.
Before we have questions, let's get through all of our board questions first.
Thank you. So we don't have to be disrupted.
So when is the application deadline for this project?
It's this week. And so what we need to do is get that letter. I think I shared the templates with you.
Yeah.
And so I guess Attorney Harris can modify that template to say exactly how that exclusive ownership or control will remain with the board.
Exclusive site.
The exclusive site
Yeah.
would remain with the board.
And this, wait, excuse me. Wait, Dr. Mitchell. And this deadline, this application deadline, it's just for us to kind of grant our blessing that we can go forward and explore this option.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's not, nothing is set in stone.
There's no committal with this, except that the commitment is that you want to see ready, you want to compete for the ready dollars that's been allocated to Northwest Indiana coming to this site. That's what that says.
Yeah.
And this is the plan, a plan that we have. And they know that this is just a plan, because these are all vision, because no one knows who's going to get the dollars. But there's 91 organizations that's vying for it. And we just happen to be one of the top 2 community hubs that's risen to the top, East Chicago and Michigan City. And we know that through, again, the channels that you can get a gauge on where you stand, where your application stands in terms of the pre-scoring. So, yeah, so that letter is just a letter of support, and with what Attorney Harris can put in there is say that this will be the exclusive site, and of course, governed by the school board.
So if I could ask, just to follow up on that, the vote by the board to support, the project creates the opportunity, but it doesn't establish what the deal is. Is that fair to say?
Right. That's totally fair, because there's no contracts.
Right.
There's no contracts, nothing's been signed. This is just an application.
The comment I made, and I wanted to be clear, I didn't want to put words in their mouth, is that a vote of support by the board would create the opportunity. It allows the application to go forward. Without that, the opportunity doesn't exist, and there's no reason to have community involvement because we don't have an opportunity. What it doesn't do, though, it doesn't amount to a vote on the deal, right? There is no deal yet, because I haven't been presented with a contract. The board hasn't seen any actual contractual documents, so there isn't any approval of a deal at this point. It's just a question of whether or not the board has sufficient information to show their support or not.
Exactly, and that's the same letter as the similar letter from all those organizations that we spoke about. They have to do the same thing. CWI has to submit a letter, Goodwill, Catholic Charities, Ivy Tech, all of these organizations have to submit the same letter that says that if Kerry Gosh is selected, they get the dollars, that they're going to step up to the plate and actually perform what they said they were going to do.
Oh, wait, Trustee Rodriguez, did you have a couple questions?
Yeah, just, one of my questions is, in this particular grant, and I know there's going to be other grants as well, but in this particular grant, is there a 10% match?
So this
And
is
if so, who pays it?
So it's 4-to-1 match. So, but it takes a lot of things in consideration. So think of, if we, let's say figuratively, we got $10 million from the IEDC, well, we'd have to come up with the match. They actually take the value of this building into consideration as a match. They also take what we would bring as an organization. So United Way and CWI alone, just right now, we haven't even gone out and fundraised. We're bringing in a cumulative of about $5.6 million. Just that alone. And then we haven't even tapped into our other nonprofit resources. We did some calculations of other grants and things that we think we're really going to have a good chance at. And we're more likely to hit 9-to-1. We're going to be way above that threshold of bringing leverage in dollars here. So that, at first, we were really nervous about that. But then when we saw the valuation of this building and other resources we've been able to connect to, we feel significantly more confident that this is extremely doable, given the circumstances we're in.
My second question, I believe Attorney Harris may have answered most of it, but what you're asking for now is just a letter of support, right?
Right.
So in the exploratory, I like the word exploratory, by the way, but in the exploratory opportunities phase.
Very much so. I mean, we have the same thing going on with Michigan City. It's a similar thing. The school district owns the building that we're potentially going into, Elston Middle School. And very similar. They're in that same boat as you, just making sure they're doing their diligence. And they have some complications with theirs. We have a YMCA that's located there and a Boys and Girls Club that's located there, and amongst other partners. So all of them signed their support to further our discussion. No one's locked in a contract. If it doesn't make sense at any point, you're like, nope, this is not right. We didn't want this site up. That's when you could say, like, we don't want to move forward with this. But no contract. It's just for us to get that, like to your point, the blessing to move forward with some at least exploratory discussions moving forward.
At this time, does anybody else have any questions? Any other board members? Questions, comments, concerns? Yeah.
I'm still thinking, but go ahead.
All right. At this time, then, I'm going to allow the community to ask a couple questions.
Yes. You've been talking about the community. One question I may ask. How can nonprofit community organization be part of this?
Yeah, so they're currently part of this. The problem is, if you think of like the home offices of most of the nonprofits in Northwest Indiana, they're not in East Chicago. And part of that is because it gets overlooked in a lot of variables. But they're well aware of it. They're not blinded by that. They know that. It just has never been a strong intentionality to bring those resources from these local nonprofits from our region here. And so that's what we really want to do, because essentially in this side would be all those connecting dots. When someone comes in and they want an opportunity, it's not that simple. I always say the workforce development's the easy part. It's getting them there that's going to take the time, and that connects the resources. And we have to do this collectively. We even have flex spacing that we want to have here. So those organizations that can't be here permanently, can they come here once a week, twice a month, those kind of opportunities, so we can make sure those resources are getting connected appropriately into this region here.
So an organization like the Calumet Concerned Citizen Committee, it's a nonprofit organization in Calumet, so they can be part of this petition.
I think that would be great. I didn't know that existed.
So what's the process for them being involved? What's the
Well,
next step?
after this gets further and we have the blessing, the next step would be reaching out. That's our outreach phase, where we love to meet with that organization, amongst a bunch of other ones too. And, you know, the Foundation of East Chicago has a long list of really trusted nonprofits for the years that they would love for us to introduce and bring into the fold as well. So I think this would be a good opportunity. I didn't know that existed, but that's
Yes.
perfect.
Oh, yes. Been in existence
That's
for 30
perfect.
years.
Yes.
I got, I captured your order, so I think we got it.
Have we finished paying the bond, the mortgage, or whatever it was on this building when it was shut down, because of the lead? Some of y'all knew the finance person. Is your mic on?
Or Jewel, do you have a?
Yeah, to answer your question, there's no bond on this building at this time. There was $3 million that was,
She got more.
And then my next one, in answer to the question about, when I worked for the DOE, there was a charter looking for a spot in East Chicago. And it took so long, they couldn't find the place and what have you. They went over to Hammond, St. Catherine of Siena. Some of y'all old folks remember. And then they still wanted some property. They kept contacting me at DOE. They finally built their own building in Gary. So there had been interest. I think this was a hot spot because of the reason it had to close suddenly. So there was previous interest. I want to say back in the day when Linda Woloshansky was over workforce development or whatever, we were having these conversations because at that time she gave a figure of maybe like 15, 20% of the people didn't have a high school diploma and this and that. They were horrible figures. And so there was discussion then, but you know how we do, sometimes in East Chicago we study long, we study wrong, and nothing happens.
And also, I remember being in Illinois and being in Crown Point, and BP had signs up in those communities, starting jobs, $80,000, $90,000. They had given up on us because we weren't producing. And so they're in the suburbs of Illinois, and they had, if you all remember, on Route 30, those big signs up, 80, I want to say it was 90,000, but I'll hold it at 80, because they couldn't find people in our community to take the job that's in our community. So I think at this point, I want to close with, we have to have a sense of urgency. Thank you.
We have this young man, Benita, and yourself. I think Pastor Hill.
All right. How you doing? You spoke about a lot of things that you want to do for the youth, but like job advocacy and training and things like that. But what a lot of us younger people, we're not able to keep jobs because of drug abuse and various mental health issues. So how are you going to help us in that aspect you're going to train us for this job and everything, but we still going to abuse drugs, so we're not going to be able to get that job in the first place. So what are you going to do to help us along those lines of our youth to drug prevention, and what are we going to talk about in this hub besides that, as well as housing for us youth? A lot of us don't got nowhere to live, and we have to stand outside and wait for a voucher to get free housing to go to maybe Chicago, Gary, or that. Why can't we have that here? Everybody can come here, and we can have this as a safe haven. Even for the senior citizen, back in Martin Luther King Day, they used to have that side door where the senior citizens come in for bingo and have a time and stuff like that. It's like, there's not a lot of stuff around here, and we're talking about a worldwide city thing, but at the same time, there's a lot of people here that still have nothing to do. Are those jobs that you're going to build with these houses, are they going to include teaching us how to put the landscaping up and, do the woodwork and the framing and things like that with our people right here? And a lot of times those jobs are outsourced from Maryville and Cherville and those areas. And we have to be the guys that just do the cleanup and stuff like that. So we never really advanced in learning how to build our own houses and run our own community. How are you going to help us do that?
Yeah, I think that goes back to bringing those nonprofit folks here. Because like I said, even in our own workforce development program, we have a whole team of supports working with every single client. They're all a little different. Some need mental health, some need substance abuse, some need domestic violence help, and some need everything. And that's what we got to bring here. And this is a part, really, we want this hub to be the magnet for that. So often, our nonprofits, it's not just a regional thing, it's a nationwide thing. Our nonprofits don't work well together. They're all territorial. They're trying to cannibalize dollars from each other. They'll duplicate services. And so what this is really doing is a much bigger thing. We want to create that naturalness. And we know it's not natural to work hand in hand with each other, but that's what the environment we want to create here, because it really has to be, when the saying, it takes a village to raise people, that's exactly what we want to create, is a village in here, because we know that's going to help, and especially the youth. I think my generation, borderline Gen X, millennial, but, we're the latchkey kids. But there was things like teen centers in our neighborhoods. There was all these things like that, right? Kids don't have that anymore. They don't even know what the heck I'm talking about if I said that. Right, that stuff. And that's what we want to bring here. We want to bring an opportunity so they don't feel like they're stuck at home or, left to their own demise. Like, we want not just physical activities, we want to bring makerspace opportunities here so kids can have an outlet, whether it's theater, art, opportunities like that, to bring them connected. And then they may not, we're adults, we're scary to kids. They may say, I don't want any resources. But the more they come here and they see those friendly faces over and over again that aren't judging them, then they might go, you know what, maybe I ought to take an opportunity and get some help. I want to see something here. And that's what we're really trying to include, is rebuilding that culture of that collaborative, because so often, what we know better in this country right now, is so divisive. And we don't want that here. We want this to be a truly unified front to really help this, and really having the community as a part of that, because the youth better than I'll ever know the youth here. And I love for folks come here and mentor and do stuff like that to really bring that spirit up.
And then,
That's
just
right.
one more thing, right? And I'm speaking for Lisa Doherty. This is the first year of a 5-year growth opportunities grant that the CWR is in. And actually, I didn't we didn't compete for the grant this year, but I scored the grants this year. Lisa Doherty, they won the growth opportunity for another
Sweet.
5 years. So that means that they have 2 growth opportunity grants that focus just on what you're talking about. That's the mental health wellness, job development, and also making sure that you had health skills, and also the transportation vouchers and childcare and things like that. So those things are in place. They're not covered with the READY grant, but they are covered with the growth opportunity grant.
I'm Pastor Hill and president of the Twin City Ministry Alliance. I heard a great program here today, but I'm concerned about the process. I think that you guys have some wonderful ideas moving forward, but what I would have liked to have seen was for the board and maybe some of you guys to go out into the community, and rather than present us something, to hear what they had to say and what they would like to see here. And then with the community, put together a plan as to what needs to happen inside of this building. I think that if you don't get the buy-in of the community, you're going to have a problem moving forward. And so I think that we've messed up a bit by presenting so much without really doing our due diligence in the community. And so I think that absolutely needs to be done. And so I would hope that you would do that. The other thing that I'm concerned about too is there seems to be a sense of urgency. And I know there's some deadlines and things that are coming up, but you have no input from the community. And now these deadlines, which are pushing us to make a decision, make a decision, make a decision. And it's been my experience that whenever we're put into a position of having to make a decision quickly, lots of mistakes are made. So I would caution you on making too many decisions quickly without fully understanding and vetting everything that you see it here on this evening.
Yeah, and to your point, the urgency really isn't the next step. It was just to get the school board to say we can get the blessing to move forward as this as a potential site. The rest we have to do a lot more thoroughly. That's why, essentially we have about 1.5 years to really make this correct. When we first brought in all those nonprofit partners from East Chicago in the first several meetings, it was really to use them, like, hey, can you reach out to your people you're serving and get some feedback? Because we were kind of last minute, because this opportunity just popped up a couple of months ago. So for us to really do the diligence, we knew we weren't going to be able to do that. But so that was the idea. We really wanted to get the community impact voices first and then bring the nonprofit partners in. But we had to almost reverse it just due to time. But so now we have to correct it by really going out to the community. And if the community goes, we don't want that here, then we're going to abide by what the community says. Community wants other things changed within here, as long as the school board blesses it. We're totally going to do that. That's what we want to do. Like, this has to be led and operated by the community. It cannot be one nonprofit or a handful of nonprofits making that decision. It really, truly has to be community driven. And that's exactly like what Dr. Mitchell was saying about the John Marshall Project in Indianapolis. That's what they did. So everything organically happened. They thought they might get about 50,000 square foot of usage. They're way over past capacity in that building. And it's because of those community needs, and they really got that community involvement, which I think they're open up here in about a month. And so those doors will open up for the first time, and we'll see how the community reacts to it. But it really was that, to your point, the way it should have been done.
Good evening. I'm Benita White Arnold, and I wanted to say thank you, first of all, to Patty Jo for sounding the alarm for the meeting this evening. Thank you so very much.
I appreciate that.
Because of what you did, this young man, Mr. Upshaw, he's here. He saw my Facebook posting. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I want to say thank you because I'm a product of Kerry Gosh. I learned how to drive a car on this parking lot, hopscotch, arts and crafts, drama. I was always the main character in the plays. But I just did a lot here. This is where we played. This was a safe place. So my son lives right here on Vernon. So I pass by this building a lot, and I'm always like, what is going to happen to that school? So when I saw this today, my expectation when I came was to be pissed. I thought something really, really bad was about to happen. I'm going to be honest. You really flipped the script on me. I am proud of what I'm hearing. So I want to say thank you for considering us, because this building, I had no idea that the value was so high. We really have a diamond right here. So I thank you for recognizing that, because we didn't realize the value. I did not. But ironically, this morning on Good Morning America, they had a school in Philadelphia that has a cosmetology school inside, and the students were on there, and they leave out, they're able to walk, get your high school diploma, and go to start a beauty school or a barber shop or whatever they wanted to do. So they go from being a student to being a business owner, or just being able to just provide for themselves. And I was like, dang, we need that back in East Chicago, you know? So how ironic that today that this had came up. So thank you. Now, I know somebody mentioned about prior notice. Well, our school board has been going through so much. Could they really have handled this situation on top of whatever they were handling, trying to get a president, trying to get a school board member elected? So maybe God worked in mysterious ways. So thank you again for putting together a plan. At least we have a blueprint. From what I'm hearing, we can make some adaptations, some changes in the future. So nothing is sealed. The deal is not sealed. So I want to say thank you again, but I got one request. Sure. Keep the name. We need to see that. And I'll tell you this story real quickly. I have a cousin that visited me about a month ago. She grew up in the projects, and she said it just hurts her that when she comes home, her children and her grandchildren cannot see where she was raised. At least this would give us some sense of where we went to school, where we learned to write, where we learned to read, where we just played and formed our lifelong friendships. We need to keep the name. That should be number one. And I understand the urgency. Attorney Jewell has already assured us that we have not locked the deal. Let's just get the money. Let's get in the pot. Let's be able to dig in the pot. And let's get some good money. Finally, something good can happen to what was started off bad with the lead. Let's get the money.
Right. Oh, thank you.
Say, Ms. Benita, get that bag.
Yeah,
I got you.
So I came here, I was listening to this online, and I was hearing all the pushback, and I was like, I have to come, because I know I was a former board member, myself and Diane. We really wanted to fight to bring some type of community, like a CTE center, like it used to be when I was in school at the Ivy Tech Center. And to be even able to have those conversations is very important. So I'm glad that that's a conversation. We would talk to people from the Ivy Tech campus, and they've always talked about possibly doing this like a sister part. So it's good to hear that those conversations are still had. As a community, we need to look to see what's happening in Hammond. There's a lot of buildings that are going to be there. There's a lot of teachers walking out. We pay the rent, or we still pay the water and the electrical and all that in this building. And we don't have kids coming into our school. So if we have somebody else take that upkeep, that's a good thing for us on our back end. The other thing that I think about is when you talk about the new curriculum for the schools in a couple years. So that means our kids are going to get less prepared to go into the work system. So now we're going to bring different entities to come in here to support them, because it's not just about, you know, the education portion, but it's the social emotional that you're all going to get from this one hub. But at the same time, you're helping your community in some form of way. My concern is that obviously the conversations were had previously with the community. I think the community did have an interest of bringing something to our students so they could be able to have a different workforce. My concern is, how are you going to separate all the groups from adults to kids and in one space? That would be a big concern for me. The other concern would be who's vetting the nonprofits that are coming in here. So, you know, is it going to be the school board? Are they going to have full control of that? Is that going to be United Center? Those are things that we would look into. Also, we already have projects going on. We have the preschool that a lot of people support, and we've seen very good things from it. But then, are they going to pull, if we have gymnasts in here, So now Geminis is going to pull from our pre-K that we already have. So I think that's further conversations of how that's going to look as we move forward. Obviously, I don't know about the back end of it, and I'm sure there's something, but overall, I'm just glad that, I'm glad we're thinking long-term. And I do ask that when you guys are up there, don't think about it as the person who brought you the idea. Think about how it's going to be better for the students and the community and the kids, because at the end of the day, it's not about the person or the people who are bringing you the idea, it's the long term of what are we going to do for us as a community.
Thank you.
Just to answer a couple of your questions, the gymnasts will be ages 1 through 3. And Ms. Tammy Pohl we've been working with them for quite a bit. And then our center over here would be 4 through 5. We know we had a lot of issues with that 3-year-old, that diapering and all that kind of stuff. They're going to do that, so our resources will extend, social workers, and that will extend down, but not that they will take care of that 1 through 3, 1 year to 3-year-olds, 4 and 5, pre-K, and kindergarten at Cary Gush. This early learning, gymnasts, 1 through 3, ages 1 through 3. That doesn't conflict with our
It's not
pre-K.
conflicting with it right now.
There's no conflict with our pre-K. And matter of fact, we have gymnasts right now in the administration building. They've been there for years. Yeah, but they don't, there's no, what we've been lacking with that is getting those students that leave gymnasts and bringing them into our kindergarten. So now that we're building a closer partnership and relationship, we're hoping that part of that would be a feeder. So gymnasts would feed us. And that means that we will have the higher pre-K and kindergarten grades, which means that we have more Cardinals graduating from Central. Yeah, I got you. I just want to make sure I saw hands. Go ahead, keep on.
Now, my question, I'm sorry. Okay, well, let me run through my question, okay? Please, Benita. Thank you. Love you, baby. Yeah, but the thing is, now my question is, student population. We're losing students. Because I haven't seen yet where we've gained students. Have we? Answer that. We have? We started to gain students this semester, which is, you gained 50 new people? From where?
We lost 167 at the ADM count in the fall.
And you
gained 50 that wasn't a part of that 167 that we lost.
So we gained 50 students. Now, what are we doing? Did we do anything specifically to gain those students? Were they transit? Is that kind of gain, or is it something effort that we done?
Yeah, there's certain efforts that we've done in terms of that we'll see further down the road, right? We've done the kindergarten.
Yeah, I know we're doing well.
Last and those things. We've also been reaching out to some of our partners who send us students. We've been screening those out to make sure we get better students coming in, so we don't get open the road. Yeah, there's open the road, but we did do what's called an intercity transfer, so that children can choose, parents can choose the school that's best for their child. And then we're going to also be working with Empower Schools. We're looking at forming an innovation network where we theme our elementary schools. So if your child is gifted in the arts, your child is gifted in science, your child has another gifting, they have a language area that they're strong, and then they can go to that school that
Within the city of Chicago. These are residents, children from the city of Chicago, not that open enrollment where they're coming from Timbuktu and everything.
theming our schools.
So we're doing that now. So with this new,
This is coming up.
that's not in place yet. This is part of the plan, still another part of the plan.
Yeah,
So-
that is not part of this innovation.
Okay, so the reason I'm asking that, because you got all these things going on, you got a lot of projects, and so, it all sounds real good, born and raised with these projects, okay? But the thing is, if we're losing students, 50 is nice, I'm glad to hear that number, I'll get more back with your number. But who will we have coming here?
All right, so if I can share with you, right, I will say that on average, we lose about 100 children a year in high school that drop out. And many times they go to the crossing. when the child leaves us and go to the crossing, that costs us. So over those years, we've spent about $1 million or so. I think the school board can attest to that. About $1 million or so we take out of our coffers and we give it to an alternative school. Okay, so now that we're putting in something that we're able to retain our students to keep them here. And that $1 million that we're doing, that $1 million stays in our coffers. And actually, on top of that, because we have partnered with Center for Workforce Innovation, if we put a trade on top of that, we become a provider. And as a provider, we get paid for every single person that earns a certificate through that Center for Workforce Innovation offers. So on top of that, we just completed the application for the Work-Based Learning Program, which is a new state entity. And so now we're a pre-apprenticeship program. So now not only do we have the relationship with the unions, we're also our own pre-apprenticeship program. And we get to keep our own students that were going to another organization that we were paying for them to go to, right? So there are so many positives to this that's beneficial to the community that, it just does my heart smiles right now because, right.
I think the other
Right.
the other big positive is that we
And I
don't
think we
lose
get-
this school to a charter school. I know, that's one of the things we were talking about, but this fits what, 750 students? Yeah.
I mean, you only have 600 in the whole system, so where you get from?
No, I'm just saying that if this goes to a charter school, I guarantee you a high school is going to be looking into taking this place.
School enrollment we have now. How many do we have in our schools?
We got 3,000. That's a small number.
A little less than 3,000.
Yes.
That's, I remember.
Yes.
Now, is that throughout the entire system, K through
Yes.
12?
Yes.
Now, how many is at the high school level?
You got 1,100. You got 1,100.
High school,
You got 1,100.
1,100.
Well, I
Right.
wasn't going to ask a question.
Yeah.
I was just saying that this is a good idea, like I tried to say earlier. And please, when you come back, please have a PowerPoint, because people are visual. Have a PowerPoint of an area here in Indiana that has this configuration, and it's working, because people are visual. That's one thing. Another thing, make sure that you have the literature, because what it's saying is opportunity collaboratives. It's designed to welcome wraparound services. They never said, you gave examples, and people are saying, well, we don't need that. And it says education and training, employment, child care and early development, transportation, entrepreneurship. If you want to be an entrepreneur. But here's my thing. Here's the thing. He never said he was going to shove all of this stuff down our throat. These are opportunities, and the opportunity is to get the grant so that we can bring these wraparound services to our community, not just to Calumet, but to East Chicago. So this is a great opportunity. There are many different school systems down in Marion County who are doing the same thing. So please bring that, because see, people are visual. Because see, all they heard was that you were saying that you was gonna use the rooms. But they didn't know that these are all youth opportunities.
Right.
Family services, healthcare, housing, it's all included. And I wanna say thank you.
No problem. No problem.
back to the student piece, we never asked them a question. How this program is doing this is going to bring increase.
Go ahead.
Excuse me, I'm gonna go ahead and answer my question. I just had a question, I had a comment. My question is probably, I'm not sure who's gonna answer it, but I understand, deadlines are just totally out of our control. They're not in our control, so we do have a sense of urgency. And that's why it feels like it's being shoved down our throat, but you have presented some great data, you presented some great information. Thank you for making the extra copies, by the way. My question is, entering in this, into this agreement of creating the opportunity or pursuing it, will that eliminate the risk of us being sold? No, I'm saying because we're pressed for time, right? If we enter into this agreement right now, let's say a month from now, a charter school wants to come in, it eliminates the risk? Okay. Because, and to everyone's point about, how many students are we gaining, think about the students we'll lose. If a charter school takes this building, them kids, those parents are gonna flock over here and send their kids to a charter school. We're gonna lose more kids in our own district right across the street.
It's not about the number that we gain or lose, but how many do we save?
Right. Opportunities, right?
Dr. Mitchell, one more.
Oh, who gave me the mic? I didn't take it.
She wanted it back.
I just wanted to echo something you said earlier about, the career programs that we used to have back in the day. My beautician is a product of that program back in 1996, and she's still in business to this day and still doing my hair, and she's a product of that. So it's an awesome opportunity, and I'm excited for it.
Absolutely.
All right, we have time for 2 more questions.
I don't have a question, but I just wanted to make a statement. Anything that's good for the kids and community, it's good. It's going to be good for growth for our community. But I'm a person of research, so I went and I looked up the John Marshall Opportunity Hub, and it gives a great example of what we're trying to do here. And I also like to say that I admire United Way, because everything about them have been shown to prove that they're for communities and making things better for people.
Thank you. And I didn't pay her to say that, by the way.
I just want to make a quick recommendation. Do the Indiana plan still exist? The Indiana plan?
Yeah.
Okay, the reason why I said that is this. I think this is a way to really build trust in the community. What happened when this building was constructed, what happened, Carl's Charismatic set up a class at Martin Luther King Center, a 4-week class, and we had people enrolled in class. If you complete the class, you be a helper on this particular job. Okay, we had about 35 people from the area, not just from Canyon, but from Chicago overall, came to the class. Out that class, about 9 people finished the class, okay? And at that particular time, we had 9 individuals from the area working, building the job. As mechanical helper, there was electrician helper, plumber helper, all those helpers. And then out that 9, 6 of them got into the union. Okay, so I'm asking, when you get the money, you talk about doing some rehab and everything else, what's the possibility that you do the same thing, training to bring some of these youngsters to be helpers at the beginning? Okay. Yeah. This is going to be before you have the job training here. Okay. This is before the job training. Let them be helpers and stuff. Then the communities buy into it and say, well, we are showing that we're trying to do it. That's a buy-in, you know.
Yeah.
And that's helpful. Mr. Upshaw was talking about, so we had a lot of youngsters that need employment and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think that's something the school district could work out. Yes.
And that's coming out of the state now, Mr. Artis. With the work-based learning program, that's a whole nother state office that now makes it so that schools can become pre-apprenticeship programs. But we're better than the pre-apprenticeship programs because we signed our articulation agreement with the unions. When those guys take a class with us, they're automatically put into the Carpenters and Millwrights Union. So they don't have to go around that whole Indiana plan where 400 go in and maybe 5 come out. If 1 go in, 1 come out. If 10 go in, 10 come out. That's through the articulation agreement that the board has already signed. So that's already in place. And we'll be doing our kickoff with that this summer with the bridge program. I think that's Trustee Artiega.
Okay, one more. Wait, you need the mic so people online can hear.
I just wanted to say, and for my closing, I could see that Marlon has done his homework, and Leslie, look like you've been on board. You guys have been doing some work behind the scenes. So just as a resident, as a parent and a grandmother, I'm happy to see that you guys are doing the work. And I appreciate that because the school city of East Chicago, we've been getting some hits. So the board, you might not have known, but you should be proud to know that your staff is doing the job, even when you're not looking. Because a lot of times people will work in front of you, and then when you turn your back around, they're not working. But they've been working when your back been turned. So I want to commend you guys for what you've done, all of you.
All right, well, thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight. We'll keep you updated.